fighting domestic extremism and mass violence, no matter the motivation. We'll talk about it all with Representative Alyssa Smith. And from COVID vaccinations to marijuana licenses, Detroit City Council members on how they'll ensure everyone has access. Today is Sunday, March 28th, 2021. This is Flashpoint. Hello and welcome to Flashpoint. I'm Karen Drew. Devin is off this week. The seasons change pretty quickly. Suddenly there are buds on the trees, and the Tigers' opening day is this Thursday. It's nice that the season begins in April this year instead of last year's July start. And speaking of change, next door to Comerica Park, Ford Field transforms into a mass vaccination site. At the same time, the number of cases of COVID begins to surge. What needs to change in the messaging to get even more people vaccinated? Domestic terrorism. We saw the siege at the nation's capital as well as in our very own state. What changes in the law are needed to stop these attacks and at the same time ensure free speech and privacy rights are not sacrificed? Congresswoman Alyssa Smith is using her background as a CIA analyst to find answers, and we'll talk to her this morning. And money and marijuana businesses will change the economic outlook for many Detroiters. The money comes thanks to federal COVID relief and from billionaire Dan Gilbert, who's starting with an initiative to help pay unpaid property taxes. Legacy Detroiters are also being prioritized in the marijuana licensing process underway right now. And that is a big change from who's been operating medical marijuana dispensaries. We've got a group of Detroit City Council members to go through it all. So let's get started this morning on Flashpoint. The FBI director has called domestic terrorism one of the greatest threats to our country. And from what happened at the Capitol on January 6th to the plot against Governor Whitmer, incidents of extremism and violence are growing. The new chairwoman of the Intelligence and Counterterrorism Subcommittee happens to be the Democratic representative from Michigan's 8th District, and she held her first hearing this past week. Joining me now to talk about that and more is Representative Alyssa Smith. Good morning, Representative. We appreciate you taking the time for us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
And I want to just jump into that hearing. I mean, clearly, with what happened at the nation's capital and here in Lansing, something needs to be done to truly strengthen the fight against domestic terrorism. But where do we start?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First, we got to separate out, the people who are the hardcore terrorists who want to use and incite violence from maybe the people who are bandwagoning, who are watching from the sidelines, who are posting on social media, but not threatening and inciting and using violence, right? We want to focus on this hardcore group, like the folks we saw who helped organize the effort to come into the Capitol on January 6th. And then we got to make sure that we have our laws in place so that we can actually go after these folks. Michigan has some of the best laws in the country, anti-terrorism laws and anti-militia laws. Then we got to make sure we have the resources so that our law enforcement officers can research these cases, investigate these cases, and then ultimately end in prosecuting these cases. So those are all the kinds of things that we were talking about this past week in the hearing. And Michigan is honestly at ground zero for this.
I know Attorney General Dana Nessel told the subcommittee, her department needs more funding, simple as that. I mean, she even cited she actually plans on using undergraduates in cybersecurity at Ferris State to help track the number of threats, obviously because there is a lack of resources. So what do? You may have the laws in place, but if you don't have the resources to track those people down, you're in trouble.
Yeah, it actually reminds me of what it was like in the federal government and in the state governments right after 9/11. We had been attacked. We had this hugely deadly and symbolic attack that happened, and we realized that we just weren't resourced. We weren't thinking about these foreign terrorist organizations. We didn't have analysts. We didn't have intel sharing. We didn't have money, focused on the target. And so I think we're going through a smaller version of that with domestic terrorism, and it caught a lot of people's attention when Attorney General Nessel said that she's using undergrads instead of getting the intel sharing from the federal government. As a former CIA officer, that certainly got my attention. And that's on us to provide resources so she can do the work.
So what are the odds? Are we going to get those federal dollars that we need?
I think so. I mean, this is a priority for lots and lots of folks in Washington, particularly in the administration. We've already seen the Department of Homeland Security say, hey, we're going to put $70 million towards, preventing tension and attacks and violence before they happen through community grants to try and stop the problem before it ends up in the headlines. So I don't think we're pushing on a closed door when it comes to this administration. But in Congress, we need to make sure that we're spending the right resources and spending them in the right way. So that's part of our oversight responsibility.
So, Representative, let's say we do get that funding issue solved. Do you still have communications? And that is an issue I know I've seen as a reporter from different jurisdictions communicating to different places. Sometimes that information is not shared. We saw that in the situation, obviously, in Lansing and the state capitol. So we've got to fix that. But then when you attack communication, you start to possibly step on civil rights and other concerns. So what do you do with that?
Yeah, we saw, before January 6th, the social media companies weren't even enforcing their own rules and regulations around what could be on social media. Then January 6th happened, and then they swung the pendulum the other way, and they started shutting down thousands upon thousands of accounts, some probably legitimately, others I don't think so. And for me, it's just an easy thing. Freedom of speech is a just revered part of our country. But your freedom of speech ends when you threaten or incite violence. That's a red line in law, in our lives. And so for me, if someone's angry with their government, they're allowed to be angry with their government. If they don't like other people down the street, they're allowed to do that based on freedom of speech. The minute they threaten violence, that ends, and it's a law enforcement issue. So that's how I think the social media companies should look at it, and everybody else who's trying to figure out how we, go after misinformation and disinformation without trampling on free speech.
Now, this past week, Republicans in Michigan joined the push for more voting restrictions that are underway. We've seen in other states. Part of their statement was they were committed to making it easier to vote, harder to cheat. So what is your reaction this morning to that and Democrats' efforts to combat it on Capitol Hill?
Well, look, I think a lot of those laws were cut and paste from other states that are trying to do the same thing. I don't think there was a ton of original ideas in there. And I think in most cases, if you look at those proposed laws, it does make it harder for people to vote. And that's in the face of really the boogeyman of false stories around voter fraud. And I think if you're pushing to make it harder to vote because you want a better chance at winning, you have lost your way. You've lost your way, right? Democracy is about everyone who deserves and has a right to vote gets to vote. And we shouldn't make it harder for citizens to access that right. If you're doing that, I guess I would just ask my colleagues in Lansing to please take a hard look at what you're trying to do and make sure it stands up to the values that our founding fathers would have wanted us to live up to.
I wish we didn't have to talk about this next topic, but it is a must in the wake of the recent mass shootings like the one earlier this week in Boulder, Colorado. Gun safety legislation, it's again being discussed on the Hill. What do you think should be done? And then with that, do you actually think it could be done? There's a difference on what should and can be done.
Sure. So actually, just coincidentally, in the past 2 weeks, we have passed through the House of Representatives two common sense gun legislation pieces. One is just universal background checks. All it says is if the same background check you go through if you buy a gun at Dunham's is the same background check you should go through if you buy on the internet or through a gun show. It just makes it systematic. And then the second bill was closing what's called the South Carolina loophole, where that loophole says if your background check takes more than 3 days, you automatically get to buy a gun without waiting for that background check to complete. So we passed those two things. I voted for both of those two things, and they're now being taken up in the Senate. And we'll have to see. You're right that there's very few topics that are as controversial in the Senate as gun-related issues. My hope is that we just have an up or down vote, right? Don't hold off putting people on the record on this. If you want to vote it down and you think a basic background check is so onerous on the internet, then you should vote that way and let your constituents make the decision whether they support that. So I hope that we're going to see those up or down votes in the next couple of weeks in Congress based on what happened.
And lastly, from one controversial topic to the next, immigration. Obviously, that's been in the news a lot. Obviously, in the past week, the House passed the Dreamers bill before. Now, that doesn't address the migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border. We're seeing that video coming in. There's criticism of the Biden administration. Is there hope for a comprehensive immigration reform?
Yeah, I mean, this is the big thing is I've never seen an issue so politicized as immigration. It's been weaponized and used as a political football when really we just need a change to the system. We just need people to be able to come here, legally work. We need our businesses to be able to get immigrant labor that's legal and safe and responsible. So we don't have just tons and tons of people feeling like they need to cross our border illegally in order to just come and work here. We need that labor in most cases. So we do need reform. And some of the proposals I've seen don't meet my definition of reform. They give people a pathway to citizenship, which in many cases I support, but they don't actually reform and change the system. And until I see real reform and comprehensive reform, as you're noting, I'm not going to be able to support something because we're just going to be back here in 5 or 10 years with the same problem. And both parties have explaining to do on that score.
Representative Slotkin, it's always appreciated your time and your expertise on these topics. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We hope you have a good rest of your weekend, and there is much more to come here on Flashpoint.